Hi everyone, how you going? So I just thought I'd have a quick chat. Age pensioners are on the cashless debit card right now. No matter how many LNP members going, oh no, we're not going to put the age pensioners on it. Alright? You need to ask this question. Because they seem to be ignoring the age pensioners that are currently on the cashless debit card. Is that because they are First Nations people? Are they trying to paint the picture of no age pensioners are on the card? I think the LNP need to change their line to no white age pensioners are on the card. Because those in the Cape York are on the card. You know what I mean? 5 in Kalgoorlie are on the card, or in the Goldfields. So I'm just going through some of the comments here on the page under the post regarding the ALP bill to end the cashless debit card for everyone. Okay? And I come across a lady by the name of Caroline Flood, who claims, this is a Labor lie. This is not going to happen. Labor is using it as a scare tactic. Wake up. She comes onto a no cashless debit card page with that statement 6 hours ago. I've just found it because I try and moderate the best I can. So she goes, of course, she thinks everybody's blinded by Labor BS scare. I wouldn't trust Elbow, blah, they all lie. But I do my research. This is a lie. What research has she done? All right, of course, she's jumped on by a couple of people. But she came out with a really horrible comment here. Some are on it due to unable to use their money wisely and pay bills or intellectual disability reasons. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yes, there are people on the cashless debit card across the whole country, except for in Hinkler, okay? Well, then again, there are people with disabilities in Hinkler as well, but they're on JobSeeker. They can't get DSP, or they're under 36 in Hinkler only. But the rest of the country, so what this person is now saying under her research, that people were put on the card for being intellectually disabled. I think she needs to back right up, right? Because yes, we have over 1,000 people on the cashless debit card that have various disabilities. But to state that as a reason for being put on the cashless debit card, when in the regions where those people were put on it, it was a blanket rollout. Every payment aged 17 to 67, including disability support, pension, carers, payments, etc. Do you know what I mean? Cape York is where the age pensioners are on it, and the government has now decided to put out, I've seen various comments, the cashless debit card is only in 5 regions. No, it's in 6, because they're trying to make the Cape York region invisible. They don't want people to realise that there's age pensioners, 20 of them at the moment, right, in the Cape York, and because Cape York is 98% First Nations peoples, it's logical that they're going to be First Nations peoples that have been forced onto it, mandated by the FRC program. All right, so they didn't get a choice. They transferred from their basics card to the cashless debit card. They didn't get to choose to swap. They just got changed over. Right, and then we find out in Senate estimates on the 28th of October that there's 5 age pensioners on it in the Goldfields region. So, but when somebody comes out with a statement like that, oh, they're on it due to being unable to use their money wisely, such a liberal statement, we've heard that before, and pay bills, or they have intellectual disability. No, we don't vilify people with disabilities on our page, Caroline Flood, and we also don't make up bullshit. And I'm calling her out, and I'm trying to load the video actually, but it doesn't want to load. My NBN's not being good, so I'll have to wait. But I've asked her to show me the proof of her statement. All right? I mean, seriously, how the hell would she know? She comes from Ballina in New South Wales. Okay? You know, how would she know? And she goes on to, we really need to watch real news, not propaganda news like ABC. All right. ABC is apparently now propaganda news. I thought Sky and Murdoch had that title. They do, but anyway. So she believes in Sky and Murdoch. No comment there. All right. So I will remove this person because we don't need LNP trolls on the No Cashless Debit Card page, especially when she's trying to fight a battle with no evidence to back up her claims, right? Because she's going purely on LNP propaganda, you know what I mean? So it's just stupid, isn't it? You know, these people. I will call people out, right? Caroline Flood. You know, we don't do this. You don't come onto our pages vilifying people, right? You need to learn the facts. It's not a Labor lie, because I can tell you what's going to happen in what we think is going to happen. Aged pensioners, when Gillespie's staffer was tackled about this question by another person that is on this page, right, they were told straight out aged pensioners would be put on the card for their own safety. So you've got a situation where if they get re-elected, the first group of people that we think they're going to go for is under 36s because they like the Hinkler model better. Plus, they don't get too much of a kickback from the oldies. Now, the only reason why the Hinkler model exists is because of protecting the votes for Keith Pitt. Because when we started our protest in 2017, we didn't know who it was going to apply to. And we thought it was going to be the same rollout as everybody else, 17 years of age up to 67, OS study, app study, job seeker, youth allowance, parenting payment, single partnered, disability support, pension, carers payment, every payment up to the age of 67. Right? So while they were trying to figure out what age group to aim it at in our region, they settled on the under 36s, parenting, job seeker and youth allowance, and of course any casual workers in that age group, because they stood to lose too many votes for Keith Pitt by putting the oldies on it. And there's a lot of oldies, right, what I call pre-pension age, you know what I mean, in our region. There's a lot of them, you know. So as soon as they did that and they established that, people sat back down and said, oh, it's not going to affect me now. Oh, we're safe. Okay? So then what happens? The card rolls out and I start getting people, the oldies, who are the parents of the adults, and you know, the parents of the parents they've put on the card, the grandkids that they put on the card, telling me, well, my grandchild was put on the card just because he left school. I said, yes, that's what they do. But they didn't drink or take alcohol. No. You know, or take drugs. No. No, that was the smoke screen you fell for. You know what I mean? So now they've woken up a lot. The card's been here 2.5 years. There's a lot of grandparents that have had to help their adult kids and their grandkids. Right? Families have had to pull together to use workarounds so that people can survive. And I'd say this time round, a lot of the older voters are going to be well aware of the damage that the card has done to their family units. You know what I mean? Because you've got their adult kids and their grandkids on the damn card, and it's stuffed up a lot of stuff for them. Do you know what I mean? And a lot of grandparents, yeah, of course they're going to help out their kids, and that's the idea. You can't, they want to stop grandparents helping out their kids and their grandkids, but they're not going to rush it. But it's there. It's in the legislation. They would never have put age pensioners in the legislation if they had no intention of doing this. Now, in the legislation, the only thing that is stopping the whole of the Northern Territory, 740 age pensioners that are already on the basics card, being forced onto the cashless debit card is a caveat. That's the only thing. A signature. A signature from the minister is the only thing stopping 740 age pensioners being put on that card in the Northern Territory straight away. Okay? So then the Liberals will go, oh, but the Greens and Labor voted against the amendment, okay, that was going to stop aged pensioners being put on the card and people with those with disabilities. Well, for a start, you'd already had people with disabilities around the country on the card. Were they going to take those people off the card if that amendment had gone through? I don't think so. They've had those people in Ceduna and Kununurra for 6 years. And they've had them for nearly 3.5, 4 years in Kalgoorlie. So no, they weren't going to stop that. You know what I mean? Now, Labor and Greens voted against that amendment because they were voting against the bill as a whole to stop the whole program. Stop it completely. Right? Centre Alliance did a deal with the LNP and One Nation, or basically the LNP. One Nation just support blindly no matter what, because One Nation wants it for everybody, right? But Centre Alliance did the deal behind the back of everybody else, because for the previous 2 years, Centre Alliance had told everybody, we won't be voting for the card if we don't have the independent evaluation, right? So, everybody believed them. For 2 years, that's what they told us. And then 24 hours before the vote, they did the deal with the LNP, right, for the Northern Territory program, not a trial, program, right, to encourage people to transition between the two. Okay? Between the basics card and the cashless debit card. And they go, oh, but it's voluntary. No. Nobody in their right mind would volunteer for compulsory income management in any sense. So the idea to get people in the Northern Territory to volunteer from one compulsory income management program to another, the difference is on the basics card, their human rights are protected, their legal rights are protected, it's run by Centrelink. On the cashless debit card, they're contracted to either Indu or now the Northern Territory Credit Union without their consent, and they've lost all of their rights, okay? And they've given up their consumer rights because it's classified that they've volunteered to give up those rights because they transitioned. Complicated, isn't it? Or what I call word salad. Weasel words, okay? To make it look good. Oh, but they volunteered. But they didn't. And we've heard from some people that don't like the cashless debit card. There's 1,104 of them in the Northern Territory now on it out of 23,000. Their rollout's not going as fast as they'd like. And some have tried to get off it and they won't let them off. There is no exit application, right, for Northern Territory or Cape York. There's no opt-out, okay? There is also no access to the $200 every 28 days that everybody else around the country has, depending on the colour of your skin, because I'm just going to come out and say it now. I'm just going to call it for what it is, because it is a racist policy. It's a classist policy. But in the regions where the majority of the people on the card are First Nations people, so many people get knocked back from accessing that $200 every 28 days. They get knocked back for accessing funds to buy other goods if they need cash. They've given up trying to even get it because they just get denied. Because somebody on the other end of the phone is racial profiling. When you deny, a Bachelor of Nursing student the ability to buy a stethoscope and you tell them no because you might want to drink the hand sanitizer that company also sells. Because hand sanitizer is banned on the basics card. It shouldn't be banned on the cashless debit card. But they have the issue of Services Australia and Indu staff can't tell the difference between the two programs and the banned products. Oh, dear. I mean, and this is it's just not good enough. The racism is showed through where First Nations people can't get access to things that people in Hinkler can. Because they're not First Nations people. They're white people. And somebody asked me a while back, why do you think they came to Hinkler? Well, Keith Pitt wanted it. It's his baby. That's the way he described it. But I think it was more so to choose an area where there was a large amount of white people, right, so that they could try and use that to say that the program is not racist. Because at the moment, when you look at the figures overall, 60% of the people on the cashless debit card are not First Nations peoples. But when you go into the regions where it is, Kununurra, Wyndham in WA, right, Ceduna, Kalgoorlie, but you go North Cape York, it is racist. And if they were to get all of the people in the Northern Territory, the 23,000 that they wanted, it's 82% First Nations people. It's racist. But it's classist, so they're trying to wrap it up. So if they roll it out across the country to under 36s, my challenge would be, are you going to take all of the people over 36 off of the card? I don't think so. You know, if they make it the same model as Hinkler, are they going to take all the people off on disability carers? No, because in the last bill, they got rid of the nominee status for carers that were on the card caring for people with disabilities that were exempted from the card at the time because of the nominee status. They cancelled that and they issued cashless debit cards to those carers on behalf of the people that they're caring for. So I now know of 2 carers that have 2 Indu cards and have to try and juggle their funds through 4 different accounts. Right? You know, one has gone bankrupt as a result because of the lack of access to cash. Can no longer pay a car repayment. Making sure that carers, people with disabilities, go bankrupt and lose their vehicles. It's the second person I've known. And the first person was a lady from Bundaberg. She was put on the card when she was on JobSeeker. They would not let her pay her car repayment. She lost the car. She had 6 kids, one with disabilities. In Hinkler, carer's payment is not on the card. And, but they let her lose her car and go bankrupt, and she'll be in debt for years over this. It lost her credit rating completely. And then later on, they approved of her carer payment and took her off the card. It was supposed to be a trial. Trials don't bankrupt people or take away their homes and destroy them, but this trial does. It was never meant to be a trial anyway. But I just thought I'd come on here and call Caroline Flood out on her rubbish before I ban her from the page because, it irks me. I have spoken to hundreds and hundreds of card holders. I live in a region where I often go to the shop and I see somebody pull out an Indu card and use it in front of me. A couple of times I've tried to speak to people about it. They scurry, right? They don't want to talk about it. It goes in the wallet and they're gone. And I don't blame them. Do you know what I mean? I met one person one day at the servo and I said to him, how's it going on the card? He goes, well, it's not my card. It's my partner's card. She has a full-time job, right? And we just use it for our smokes and petrol. It doesn't impact us in that way. But that's a difference. That is the difference with people who are working. It doesn't impact them the same way of those that are on it full-time, people that are on job seeker, youth allowance. The cost of this thing has to be taken into consideration. When it costs more to issue the card than what someone's payment is over the whole year, it's ridiculous. And that's it, isn't it? Call it for what it is. It's a rort for private corporation and their stakeholders. Because you have people on youth allowance that are not even getting, $9,000 a year, but I know many on youth allowance that get less. And the card costs anywhere up to $13,000 per person, even though the AAP keep trying to call fact-checked on the cost. They only measured the cost against one Indu contract, not 25 Indu contracts that are out there. And remember, ongoing costs are now not for public, the the public aren't allowed to see it. It's all locked up now. It used to be commercial in confidence. Now it's commercial in cabinet. Anything not to let the people see. And you can't, and you try getting a FOI and they won't let you see anything. So the ongoing costs, we don't know what they could be. Billions, you know what I mean? So anyway, I just thought I'd just clarify some things. Age pensioners are at risk to be sort of coercedly, gently. It's a good idea if you go on it, you know, to protect you from elder abuse. All right? Or they'll roll out to the under 36s and then they'll start on the age pensioners. But they're in the bill. And there's already 25 age pensioners on the card. And I don't care how many times a Liberal says it. Oh, but there's no age pensioners on the card. You tell me that. And I'm not going to say what I just thought. But there is. But trying to make the people in the Cape York invisible. Trying to make out, oh, but that's a unique program. Well, it was convenient for the LNP to merge the two bills together in 2019 to get ongoing funding to keep the FRC program going. All right? Should never have been merged together, the basics card and the cashless debit card bills. All right? If Cape York was so unique, why are they on the cashless debit card? Why have they lost the program that they had, which was unique? It was like no other income management program around the country. It was totally differently run, right? And people could get off the basics card, or they could go back on it if they wanted to, and they could get on and off. They could jump on and off it. They could use it in a positive way. But no, right? No. You know, they've gone on the cashless debit card. They didn't get a choice. Right, mandated by the FRC, bang. So, there you have it. All right, take care, and I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.